Stories are our main way of narrating experience. We, when we watch a series or we watch a movie or we read a book or we read some manga, or there's input and there's a whole adventure that happens inside our head. And this adventure is often a way of experiencing conflict and resolution, of experiencing growth, of experiencing a depression, an elation, emotion in different ways, different aspects of your psyche, because your psyche is not actually a person. You are a field of awareness that is totally open to all of possibility, all infinite possibility. And when you present yourself with a story, your psyche, your awareness molds itself to represent that story within your own mind. And this is what happens when we encounter stories, when we experience stories. We experience different parts of ourselves, and it is primarily and only ourselves. And that's why you have people with all their favorite characters, all their, I like this story, I like that story, oh, I like this person, I like that person. And we go around the world experiencing stories all the time. That's how we live. We live through experience, and we live through the experiencing of experience. This is what I think of as narrative. I have a narrative as I talk right now. There's still some background. There's this emotional surge of who I think I am. But the truth is, there's really no one there. I'm just like this wide open field of life. I'm just life. I'm life itself talking to you, and you are life itself listening. And between the two of us, there's really no one that's listening or talking. I'm saying something that you already know, because really, at the end of the day, this experience is primarily within you. And if that's the case, that you already know what I'm talking about, and it's everything is within you. If that really is the case, then is there a you? And is there a me? I hope you kind of see what I'm getting at, that we're just these narratives. And we're very abstract. Our existence is, in a sense, abstract. You can have moments of existence where you really show up to life and kind of everything really blossoms. There's this kind of real presence. But most of the time, we kind of live on these autopilot narratives, and I say something and then you say something, and then you might get offended based on what you're used to hearing, and if I don't confirm with that, you get uncomfortable, and then I get uncomfortable because you're uncomfortable, and we're just kind of trading energy and emotions, and we can't even really tell where the difference is, whether I screwed up or you screwed up, and I guess this is just an example, a very simple example, just trying to illustrate how really there is no you or me. Besides, of course, the narratives that we're sort of used to using as a vehicle to get around the world. Living without narrative is terrifying to some degree, because you're like a baby. You don't really know what's going on. And if you're safe, if you really feel okay in the world, that's fine, because now everything's really interesting all of a sudden. You don't really know what's going to happen. You don't have any limitations and expectations. You could do anything, and whatever happens is interesting. You're like, huh. But the moment you have a judgment, the moment you feel something that just tells you what it is or what to do, and this is never external. I'm never talking about something outside of you. I'm always talking about the internal process, because that's where your experience is really formed. That's where your story forms itself. You are the story of yourself, but you yourself are not the story. You are just the life that is there to experience that story. And again, this is why I talked about this wide open field, because you look within yourself and look as focus and just kind of look who's listening, who's aware. Can you look at the character of the person that's listening? Are you just the thoughts in your head? Are you what's behind it? Who's aware? Who's watching the thoughts in your head? And then the moment you start watching the thoughts, you're aware that you're watching the thoughts. There's someone watching. The process of watching is this just what's happening. And then can you locate this person that's seemingly watching? Is it in the body? Is it outside? Is it in your head? But then, you can feel the sensations of your body, so it's not purely in your head. And you can, I would urge you to kind of let go of a lot of the ideas you have about what things are. Like, oh, it's biology, it's nerves traveling around. Yeah, cool, whatever. What does that mean? Like, you don't... And this is going to sound really heretical, but you actually have no clue what's going on. You have a lot of ideas about what's going on based on things that you read and people and what people have said is real. Oh, that's real, that's real, that's real. But you actually don't know. And you might challenge me, and I don't want to go there, but, you could be like, well, try it, see what happens. Cut your... skin open or something, you'll see the blood and you see the nerves and so on and so forth. And, I'm sure that's the case, but my point is, there is no way to understand experience without the fact that it's experience itself. There's always this listener, the seer, the watcher, that's not you as you experience yourself, or that you experience yourself in relation to me. You're always different from you. You're not just a mechanism. And that's crazy, but that's the truth. And it doesn't take a lot to prove it. I mean, just sort of do like this. Just contemplate for a little bit. Just sit and look. And then don't panic. I mean, it's not anything crazy. People have known this for a long, And that's a lot of why, philosophy even came about in the first place. And that's probably why a lot of religion came about, because people were like, what the hell is going on here? And they just kind of would, and you have all these experiences, with art and spiritual stuff and, life and creativity and music. You just kind of, it's almost like you're leaving the body. And how's that possible if you're just a body? And you're not even just a body either. I mean, a lot of our experience is always changing in relation to everything that's happening. But then is there something that stays central? And that's kind of what I'm trying to point at. What's there when everything else disappears? What was there before you came here? What's going to be there after you leave? And really all I can say is just life. And, I don't want to make too many statements about things, because that's not the methodology either. This is just to sort of raise questions, make observations that are pretty much true and universal. I'm sure you've noticed this, or if you haven't, just sit down for a little bit, just put everything down and just kind of... it's kind of like stoner thoughts, oh shit, am I moving? Is the tree moving? And there's, a really funny Zen story, where these two monks are like, oh, the flag is moving, no, the wind is moving, and then the master, this Chan, it's this meditation guy, comes along and he's just like, no, it's a mind that's moving. And then the monks were like, whoa, yeah, man, that's cool. But you kind of, I would say that's a good story that illustrates a little bit of what I'm trying to get at. It's always what's within that's moving first. And that's how that's how you understand things. It's happening in relation to you, and you kind of show up to that, and then you can say, oh, this is me and that's you, and this is where, we're different, because, yeah, look at us, that's totally different, right? Blah, 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 blah. You say all that, but see, like, once you take away that difference, and again, this might be terrifying, but I don't think it should be. I think it's really freeing, because it gives you much more of a reason to be careful about everything that you consume or that you find yourself in relation to. When you're like, oh, screw this person, screw that person, that energy, those thoughts are primarily first within you. And, it might make you a little bit uncomfortable, but it gives you all the more reason to be really considerate about what you think, and what you get into. Is it really worth it? Am I really even considerate about me and this other person? Am I just reacting on autopilot? What's going on? And is any of this necessary? I mean, I don't even exist, like, as a person. I'm just alive. And yeah, I have a lot of things to do, a lot of conditional, I need food, place to stay, sleep, blah, 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 sex, whatever. But it's just like, you always have a moment of space to, like, think about that. Like, do I really need this? Do I really... Is this something that I want? Who am I? And if you can really just kind of sit around for a little bit and just kind of ditch everything, just sit around and, like, kind of relax. And just kind of be with that sort of yourself. Be with whatever that yourself is, right? And I don't want to say it's you, because again, you don't want to create another story for you to experience. It's not a story. This is it's close to reality as you're really gonna get. And this is the same you that sees every dream, that sees every experience, that sees every other thing. And you have to realize that you yourself are just a stranger to yourself, the same way everything else is strange to you. Just see yourself like you're like this child experiencing life for the first time. You have no idea what's going on, but you're kind of like, oh, it's not so bad, it's quite interesting, and and try it. That's all.